Chattahoochee State Park will be hosting Minnesota Arts Grant recipient Alison Young for an immersive evening of sound and storytelling on Saturday, January 24th at 7 p.m. Alison is joining us now to tell us more. Welcome, Alison.
Hi, Julie. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you here. You have a fascinating bio, 14,000 miles of backpacking across 6 continents, professional musician, syndicated American public media host. Wow, where do you begin? What can you tell us about all of that?
You know, my great-grandmother used to say, life may be short, but it's also wide. So there was a lot of time to do a lot of things. If you want to reinvent yourself, if you want to explore all of your interests throughout your life. But I really felt in my life that I was kind of forced to explore my other interests because I became dedicated to music as a professional musician. At a young age, I became a professional flutist and explored that, and that's what I was going to do. And in my late 30s, I developed a neurological condition called dystonia, which pretty much ended that level of career. I still play now, but it was like, what am I going to do next? And so then I had to jump into, a new career, find something to make money, basically. And I got into Minnesota Public Radio, where I've been. I was working for about 13 years here in Minnesota. So I've explored a lot of different things, but throughout the through line was enjoying nature, enjoying the outdoors, and especially enjoying hiking.
Wow! And in your TED Talk, you describe how you lost the ability to play the flute professionally, and that at that time you discovered the joy in hiking. Is that what inspired your award-winning Blissful Hiker podcast?
Yeah, for sure. So, throughout my life, I always hiked. And when you played the flute, you'd often go to these music festivals, like in beautiful places. So, Colorado or the Tetons. And, I was always walking. And a part of it is like, following a trail and moving in nature felt a lot like making music. There was something about the highs and the lows, the ecstatic and sort of the more soulful feelings that you would have like in music. It kept me grounded. It was just beautiful. It was wonderful to see how my body functioned on hard hikes. But then when I was, not able to play my flute anymore, I discovered that the trail itself was a place that was great for healing, for solace. And I was so surprised that I had this in my toolbox, that I could go, back to the places that I always loved and find that kind of healing. And so, where it went from there, and then, of course, with having been in public radio and learning about creating audio narratives is what I call them. So it's personal essay combined with sound or field recordings, and also a little bit of music as well. We create those kinds of stories all the time, every single day in radio. And having that skill, I was like, oh, you know what? I can tell the stories of my trail walking, like what it was like there, bring people in. And I speak in present tense, so people are there. And then I have these sounds that I've collected as I've gone, the sound of the mud, the sound of the rain, the sound of the wind, the sound of the other people I might have met, birds, animals, etc. And so that just felt like I was really called to do that. And then it kind of led into something new. It was, the trail can heal you, how to become a little stronger, a little bit more empowered by putting one foot in front of the other. So, yeah, that's where I went with it. It's called Blissful Hiker Podcast.
The Blissful Hiker Podcast. That's wonderful. Our listeners are mostly familiar with the Superior Hiking Trail. Have you hiked that?
Yes. I have done, over the years that we've lived here, almost 2 decades now, I've hiked sections of it and, just kept doing that every year in every season. And finally, I think it was about 4 years ago, I said, all right, I'm going to hike it end to end just to, see what it feels like to do a through hike. And that was so cool to do that. It was so much fun because when you do a through hike, you're committed for, it took me 16 days to do it. You're committed to whatever weather's coming up. You can't just say, I'm going to choose this weekend because it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
You're stuck on it. And I only had time in, I think it was late June, which I don't know if that's the worst time to be on trail because the mosquitoes are horrible. So I was out on trail when it was warm, it was rainy, and it was full of mosquitoes. But it was so wonderful still. I mean, it was beautiful. I met interesting people. I had gorgeous days. I had incredible number of birds. And that really got me, fascinated in kind of more deep into this idea of collecting sound, to share with people the experience of what it's like to be in nature and how healing it is.
What a great experience.
Yeah.
How did you connect with Chattahoochee State Park?
Oh, Chattahoochee, yeah. So I've been coming there for a lot of years, and the very first time I went, a friend of mine from Duluth suggested that we do some rock climbing. And I'd only done, kind of rock climbing through classes and stuff. I was strong. I could sort of handle it, but I didn't have no idea what I was doing. And we got out there to Shovel Point, where they've actually installed some large metal, I actually don't know what they're called, but kind of these fixed places where you can put your ropes in so you can climb. And I thought, oh, well, this is kind of interesting, but we're looking down over a cliff, and I'm like, wait a minute, we have to go down first to climb up. And it just completely freaked me out. It's the first time I'd ever done that, where you tie in and you turn around, you get to the edge, and then you don't really rappel. I guess you rappel down, but you're going very slowly down the edge to climb back up. And ever since then, I was just fascinated with the park, and have come, as I said, like every season up from the Twin Cities, to be there on icy days, in the summer, in days when the waves are just crashing. And I had connected with them because they have these art exhibits, and I wanted to see if, perhaps I would be someone who would be considered for that. So I received a grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board, a creative individual grant for 2025. It actually goes through the fiscal year, so it ends on January 30th. To create these audio narratives about Minnesota state parks, and I chose one for each season. So I'll be giving this talk where I'll share you'll hear the audio narrative, but also kind of talk about like my process, how I choose the places, how some speak to me. Some parks didn't quite speak to me the day I was there, so I said, nope, I'm not going to do that one. And some did, and some were just a surprise. And really how sound is a very special art form. I mean, I think you and I probably connect with that because of being in radio. I mean, we know that we have to create pictures with our voices. We have to tell a story that people can fill in the gaps when they're listening and kind of see what they want to see. So in a way, as a storyteller without pictures, you're a partner with the listener. The listener is not just seeing what you're seeing; they're creating something while you're speaking. And sound is very, very primal. It's very potent because it reaches us in our limbic system, and right into the emotion and the feeling of immediacy of being somewhere. So I'll be speaking about that and sharing a few pictures and videos too of the places I come because I've been to, because I don't just collect sound. I, of course, take pictures as well.
That was going to be my next question, if there would be a visual component to your presentation.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And those, you had said that you immersed yourself in 4 Minnesota state parks with the 4 seasons. Which parks were you at?
Yeah. And they're kind of a surprise because it's, as I said, sometimes you go and it's like not quite the right season to be there, or you're expecting something different. So I begin with spring. I went to Lake Itasca, or Itasca State Park, for spring, which was very loud and surprising and kind of funny in a way. And then summer was at Grand Portage, right on the Canadian border. Mm-hmm. Fall was out at Blue Mounds, way in southwestern Minnesota. And winter closer to the metro at Lake Maria State Park, where I actually stayed in one of the little cabins And that was a winter's day in February that was not really feeling like winter. So it's kind of an interesting one.
Wow. You really picked them all over the state. Good. That's nice. And do you have a website where people can follow your adventures?
Yes. Thanks for asking that. So I'm called the Blissful Hiker, which is a trail name. I was given it on the Pacific Crest Trail, which is one of our premier trails in the United States. It was the first day, and it was so beautiful. And we were up starting in at the Canadian border, and a fella said to me, I was smiling so much. I was so full of joy. He said, "You're going to be blissful all the way to Mexico." And so blissful kind of stuck. So I'm the Blissful Hiker, and the website's called blissfulhiker.com. So easy as that.
And that website is very energetic. The photos that you have on there, blissful is a very good word. Very, very energetic. We're speaking with Alison Young. Her Hear the Parks Come Alive audio narratives with Alison Young will be on Saturday, January 24th at 7 p.m. at Tetagooch State Park. It's an opportunity for the public to hear her field recordings and personal essays. That's Saturday, January 24th, Tetagooch State Park at 7 p.m. Thanks so much for joining us today, Alison.
Thanks, Julie. I really appreciate it. It was fun.
Thank you.